The Galactic Council Hall was never silent, not even during peace talks. But that day, you could hear a pin drop. Billions of alien viewers watched from every corner of the galaxy. The grand debate had turned into something much darker. Standing in the center of the hall was the Royal Guard commander of the Zeltrax Empire. His silver armor gleamed under the lights. His crimson cloak flowed like fire behind him. His voice echoed through the chamber, deep and sharp like a blade. "You dare insult the Emperor of Zeltrax, human," he roared. "By our ancient laws, I challenge you to a duel." The crowd gasped. Every representative from every species looked at the lone human standing across from the commander. He looked ordinary. No armor, no weapons, just a simple black uniform with the old Earth crest on the chest. He stood calm, his hands behind his back. His name was Marcus Vale, Earth's newest ambassador. No one knew much about him. They called him quiet, polite, maybe even soft. And now he had been challenged to a duel by the deadliest warrior in the Empire. The Zeltrax commander had never lost a duel, not once. His blade had ended over 400 lives, and none had lasted more than a minute against him. Still, Marcus didn't flinch, didn't blink, didn't even raise his voice. He looked at the commander and said just 2 words: "I accept." The entire chamber froze. One of the insectoid senators dropped their glass in shock. Another gasped so loud their translator chip sparked. The commander narrowed his eyes. "Do you understand what this means, human?" he asked. "This is a fight to the death." "I know," Marcus said, nodding slowly, "and I still accept." Reporters shouted questions, cameras zoomed in, feeds exploded with reactions. Back on Earth, people watched in disbelief. Was this man mad, brave, or something else entirely? The council leader, a floating being of pure energy, tried to interrupt. "Ambassador Marcus, Earth can still reject the duel. This is not—" "No," Marcus said softly. "The challenge was made under Zeltrax law, and Earth respects all council laws." The commander gave a wicked smile. "Then you will die tomorrow, at dawn, on the sacred sands of Argon Prime." Without another word, he turned and marched out, his boots shaking the floor with each step. Marcus stood still. No fear in his face, just silence. After the hall emptied, Earth's assistant ambassador, a young woman named Sarah, rushed to him. "Marcus, what are you doing?" she asked, her voice shaking. "He'll kill you. That's not a duel. It's a death sentence." Marcus looked at her, eyes calm. "I know," he said. "I just needed him to say it in front of the galaxy." She didn't understand, not yet, but deep down, something about Marcus made her pause. Maybe it was the way he looked at the stars that morning, like he knew something no one else did. Later that night, alone in his quarters, Marcus stood at the window watching Argon Prime rise like a golden flame on the horizon. He didn't eat, didn't sleep. He only stood there, waiting. A soft knock came at the door. He opened it to find a small alien child no more than 7 cycles old. She had tears in her eyes. "Are you really going to fight him?" she asked. "Everyone says you'll die." Marcus knelt, looking at her with kindness. "Sometimes," he said gently, "we fight not because we want to win, but because someone has to stand up." She hugged him, then ran away, and Marcus returned to the window. Back in the Zeltrax camp, the Royal Guard commander trained inside a gravity chamber. Swords moved like lightning, walls cracked under pressure. He laughed as he slashed through a dozen steel targets. "This human is nothing," he sneered. "Tomorrow, he dies." But deep inside, something bothered him the way Marcus had looked at him, not with fear but with understanding, as if he had seen war before, real war. The duel was now law. No one could change it, not even the Galactic Council itself. At sunrise, Marcus Vale would face the Royal Guard commander in single combat, and according to tradition, only one would walk away alive. Across the galaxy, war historians and combat analysts gathered like vultures, every screen on every world lit up with commentary. "Earth's representative will be dead in under 30 seconds, said one Zeltrax broadcaster. "Humans are clever diplomats, not warriors," mocked another. But the humans said nothing. No statements, no warnings, no protests, just silence. Just Marcus. He was transported to Argon Prime that night. The battlefield was sacred, a flat desert with stones older than the stars. In the center stood the Duel pillar, where both names had been carved into the ancient rock. It was said that once your name was there, your fate was sealed. Marcus stood before the pillar, running his fingers over the rough surface. "Feels like stone," he whispered, "but also like a grave." A Zeltrax guard behind him sneered, "Don't worry, human, we'll bury you deep when it's over." Marcus didn't respond. He just looked up at the sky. The twin moons of Argent Prime hung above like eyes watching his every move. The Royal Commander trained under full gravity pressure that night. His armor was reinforced with star-forged plates, his blade sharpened by plasma winds. He moved like a machine, precise, deadly, unbreakable. "Do you fear him, Commander?" one of his officers asked. The commander laughed. "Fear? I've broken warlords and beasts 3 times his size." "But he didn't flinch," the officer added. "No," the commander admitted, his voice cold. "And that's what makes him dangerous." Marcus spent his night differently. He sat alone on a small rock near the edge of the battlefield. No armor, no training, no weapons, just him and silence. Sarah, the assist. Aunt Ambassador, appeared beside him. "You should be resting," she said softly. Marcus looked at her with calm eyes. "Rest won't change what's coming." "Why did you agree?" she asked, her voice low and tired. "You're not a soldier anymore." He looked up at the stars. "Because if I said no, they'd think we were weak. And if I die, at least they'll remember that one human stood without running." Sarah sat beside him, quiet for a moment. "Do you think you can win?" Marcus smiled. "Winning isn't always about survival." When dawn broke, the planet went silent. The ground shimmered under the morning heat. The council ships floated in the sky like watching gods. Billions watched through satellites and holograms. The duel would not just be a fight. It would be history. The Royal Commander arrived first. He wore full battle armor, his blade humming with energy, his eyes burned with fury. This was more than duty now. It was personal. Then came Marcus, wearing only his Earth uniform. No sword, no shield, just gloves and boots. The crowd gasped. "No weapon? Is this a joke?" aliens shouted. "This is suicide." Marcus walked to the center and nodded. "I am ready," he said. The duel judge stepped forward, an old being with no face and a voice like thunder. "By sacred law, this is a death duel, no interference, no mercy. Begin." The commander charged like lightning, his blade aiming straight for Marcus's chest, but Marcus sidestepped calmly, letting the blade pass within inches. The move was clean, too fast. The commander swung again and again and again, each strike missed by a hair. "What is this?" someone shouted from the council ship. "Why can't our scanners track him?" Marcus moved like the wind, not attacking, just flowing. Then in a single moment, he placed 2 fingers on the commander's wrist. With a soft twist, the sword clattered to the ground. Gasps E. Chewed across the galaxy, the commander looked at his hand in disbelief. He couldn't feel his fingers. "What did you do?" he growled. "Pressure point," Marcus said calmly. "War isn't about strength." Marcus stepped back. "No," he said. "I didn't accept this duel to kill." He turned and walked away, leaving the commander kneeling in the sand, defeated but alive. In that moment, the galaxy changed. For the first time in centuries, a Royal Guard commander had been beaten, not by death, not by blood, but by discipline, precision, and something no one expected from a human. Mercy. Marcus Vale didn't raise his hand in victory. He simply walked toward the sunrise, like a man who had already seen too many battles, and the galaxy watched him speechless. The arena was still echoing with disbelief. Marcus Vale had walked away from the duel, unharmed, unafraid, and undefeated. The Royal Guard commander, feared across empires, sat on his knees in the dust. His sword lay far from him, his fingers numb, not from a blade, not from blood, but from a touch, one touch. That's all it took for the human to win. The duel judge made it official. The human Marcus Vale is the victor. But Marcus didn't look back. He kept walking. The audience didn't cheer. They didn't know how to. It wasn't the ending they expected. No glory, no death, just silence. 3 hours later, Marcus was aboard Earth's diplomatic cruiser. The walls were made of polished chrome, glowing blue from within. But he sat in the shadows of his own quarters, alone, quiet, and still. Sarah entered with a datapad, her hands shaking slightly. "Every media feed is broadcasting you," she said. "You're on 10 billion screens." Marcus didn't respond. She placed the pad on the table. It showed reactions from across the stars. How did he win without a weapon? Was it magic, tech, mutation? Who is Marcus Vale really? Sarah sat down beside him. I think you owe me an answer, she whispered. Who are you, Marcus? He looked up slowly. The man who walked away from war, she frowned. You're more than a diplomat. And I knew it. Marcus looked into her eyes, and this time his voice cracked slightly. I was part of Project Echo. A group of operatives trained to move silently, fight precisely, and end conflicts before they began. Sarah froze. That project was erased from Earth's records. Marcus nodded. Because we were too good at what we did. We were ghosts in war zones, not soldiers, not heroes, just tools, Sarah whispered. Why come back now? Marcus stared at the stars through the window. Because peace doesn't last unless someone is willing to stand in front of a blade. Meanwhile, far away, the royal commander returned to his palace. He had removed his armor, but not his pride. He stood before a mirror, staring at the bruises on his wrist. His second-in-command entered quietly. No one blames you, she said. They fear him now more than they feared you. The commander looked at her. I trained my whole life to win with strength, and he beat me with nothing but silence. Do you regret challenging him? He didn't answer. Instead, he asked, Has the Emperor summoned me yet? Not yet, she replied. But I hear the council is panicking, and they were. The Galactic Council met in emergency session. Representatives from every system sat in their floating chairs yelling across the chamber. The human must be restrained. He's a weapon hidden under a mask. No single man should have that much power. Earth's ambassador stood calmly, arms crossed. We didn't send a soldier, she said. We sent a man who knows what war really means. A tall reptilian ambassador hissed. You expect us to believe he acted alone? He ended the fight in seconds. Maybe, the Earth ambassador said. Or maybe your warrior wasn't as unbeatable as you thought. The room roared with noise, but one voice silenced them all. It came from a shadowed balcony above the chamber. The Emperor of Zeltrax himself stepped into view, eyes burning like suns, voice cold and powerful. Bring the human to me, he said. I wish to see him, not as a rival, but as a teacher. When Marcus received the summons, he said nothing. He packed his bag, placed an old photo inside, and stood ready. Sarah walked him to the hangar. Be careful, she said. I don't trust the Emperor. Marcus gave her a tired smile. Neither do I. But sometimes, to stop the next war, you have to walk into the lion's den. The shuttle launched into the sky. Marcus didn't look back. He had already left too many people behind, and deep within the Imperial Tower, the Emperor waited, not with anger, but with curiosity, because Marcus Vale had done the impossible. He had shattered fear, and now the galaxy would never see humans the same way again. The Emperor of Zeltrax watched the human step into his throne hall. He expected fear, maybe arrogance, maybe nervous sweat, but Marcus Vale walked like he had already been here before, like this was just another room, another test. Guards flanked the marble walls, dressed in black obsidian armor, every sword ready, every eye alert. But Marcus's hands stayed at his sides, relaxed, open, unarmed. The Emperor leaned forward, his voice smooth like cold metal. You defeated my greatest warrior. Tell me, Marcus Vale, who are you really? Marcus answered with silence, not out of disrespect, but because he knew the Emperor wasn't asking for a name. He was asking for the truth, the whole truth, across the stars in the hidden corners of the earth. Military archives, old files blinked back into light, accessed by someone with council-level clearance. Project Echo, status terminated, operatives classified, final report, subjects show, at unmatchable adaptability, psionic conditioning and complete battlefield dominance deemed too dangerous for further deployment, all surviving units discharged, records sealed. A Zeltrax data analyst stared at the report with shaking hands. They trained ghosts, he whispered, ghosts with minds sharper than blades. In another galaxy, the royal commander stood in front of an old alien sage. He didn't speak. He only showed the bruises on his wrist. The old alien traced the marks gently. This wasn't just pain, he said softly. This was a message. The commander looked away. I was trained to conquer, but I never learned to lose. The sage nodded slowly. Then maybe this human did what no one else could. He showed you there is something beyond pride. Back in the Emperor's chamber, Marcus finally spoke. You want to know what Earth is hiding? I'll tell you. We are a species built on survival. Not strength, not speed, just the will to stand when everything says we should fall. The Emperor narrowed his eyes. Why walk away from the duel? Marcus stepped closer. Because I've ended enough lives. I don't need another death to prove my worth. Silence filled the air, thick like fog. The Emperor stood and approached. You confuse the council, he said. They think you're a weapon. Marcus nodded. I was. But now I'm something they don't understand. And what is that? The Emperor asked. Marcus looked him in the eye. A man who chose peace, even when the war asked him to fight. The next day, whispers moved like fire through every galactic council system. New footage leaked, not of the duel, but of Marcus from 5 years earlier. A battle on the moon of Tovari, 12 human soldiers surrounded, outnumbered, outgunned. Marcus walked out alone with no armor and returned with every soldier alive. One alien reporter said, he walked through a battlefield like it was a hallway. And no one who aimed at him could pull the trigger. The footage paused on his face, calm, focused, empty. People started calling him the Silent Storm, because no one heard him coming, and yet everything changed when he arrived. Inside a shadowed council chamber, 3 powerful species held a secret meeting. He's too dangerous, said the Kaltori warlord. He's shifting power with a single action. He's not a threat, said the Narel diplomat. He's a symbol. That's worse, replied the third. Symbols can spark revolutions. They drafted a secret plan. Eliminate him. Quietly. No blame. No war. Just silence. But Earth was not sleeping. Back on the human fleet ship Vigilant Hope, Commander Reyes activated the Echo Protocol. Marcus is being targeted, she said. Send the shadows. From hidden sectors of space, old operatives moved again. Men and women long thought retired. Ghosts returned to defend one of their own. Meanwhile, the royal commander arrived at the human embassy without a weapon. He asked for one thing, to speak to Marcus, alone. Inside a quiet room, 2 warriors faced each other. One had been defeated. The other had chosen not to win. Why did you spare me? The commander asked. Marcus replied, because you're not my enemy. Then who is? Marcus looked out the window. The ones who believe peace makes us weak. And far beyond the stars, a dark ship moved through the blackness. It belonged to a race that had not shown itself in centuries. The message was short. Humanity cannot be allowed to rise. They were coming, and they didn't want another duel. They wanted extinction. But Earth was ready, because Marcus Vale had already lit the fire, and now the galaxy would see what humans do when someone threatens peace. The golden gates of the Imperial Throne Hall slammed shut behind Marcus Vale. This time, there was no calm welcome, no respectful silence, only soldiers with weapons raised, and the Emperor standing not seated, voice sharp like a sword's edge. You've embarrassed my empire, he said coldly. You broke our traditions. You defeated my champion, turned him into your student. And now, you teach him peace? Marcus did not flinch. He stood in the same black uniform, no armor, no weapons, only his voice, calm and steady. You called me to your court, Marcus said. I came because I believe we can build something better. The Emperor's eyes narrowed. You believe wrong. The council has voted, he declared. You are to be imprisoned indefinitely without trial. Marcus didn't move, his eyes locked on the Emperor's. No trial means you fear the truth, he said softly. You fear what I represent. The guards stepped forward, their boots echoing across the marble floor, blasters powered up, glowing red. But before they could reach Marcus, a voice echoed from above. Stop. It was the Royal Guard commander. He stood at the highest balcony, armor gone, wearing only the ceremonial robes of peace. His voice shook the air. If you touch him, you touch me. Gasps echoed through the chamber. The same warrior who once declared Marcus a stain on honor now stood between him and the Empire. The Emperor's jaw tightened. You would defy your own blood oath? I would, the commander said, because he showed me something I've never seen. Strength without cruelty. Honor without blood. The emperor paused, then gave a cruel smile. You've changed, he said. Perhaps that is the human disease, he turned to Marcus. Then I offer an ultimatum. You will remain here, not as prisoner, but as an advisor. You will train my inner circle, and in return, Earth's colonies will be protected. Marcus raised an eyebrow. Or, the emperor's voice dropped to a whisper, or your species will learn what true silence means. From orbit, Earth's ambassador was informed within minutes. She called it what it was, blackmail, but Earth did not back down. Back on the flagship, Vigilant Hope, a message was prepared, not one of war, but of warning. If one hair on Marcus Vale's head is harmed, it said, Earth will not send a diplomat. We will send the fleet. The council received the message and fell into chaos. Some screamed for war, others for peace, but all of them feared the silence of Earth's ships. No threats, no posturing, just the calm promise of consequences. Marcus accepted the emperor's deal, but not with joy. He laid down 3 conditions: full diplomatic protection for all human colonies, freedom to speak and train as he wished, no forced violence. He would teach defense, not destruction. The emperor agreed, but his smile never reached his eyes. Training began the next day. In the royal arena, warriors from across the empire stood ready. Muscles, armor, weapons. They had everything, except understanding. Marcus stepped onto the training floor. He looked at the group and said only one thing. If you want to win like I did, he said, you have to forget everything you think you know. He didn't teach them how to kill. He taught them how to think. How to breathe. How to move without being seen. How to fight without letting rage control the hand. Some laughed at first, but by the end of the first week, not one of them could touch him. Not even once. The royal commander became his most dedicated student. He trained harder than anyone, not to beat Marcus, but to understand him. They sparred in silence, talked in whispers, and slowly the seeds of respect grew into something stronger, loyalty. But in the darkness, not everyone was pleased. A secret meeting of Zeltrak's generals took place in the shadow world of Valtos. They called Marcus a threat, a virus spreading inside their empire. One of them said, he must be removed before he changes more than soldiers. They sent an assassin, one trained in poisons and shadows, a ghost meant to end another ghost. That night, Marcus sat alone in the garden of the palace, moonlight reflecting off a pool of still water. He knew they would come. He didn't run. The blade struck, but never reached him. The royal commander appeared from the shadows, grabbing the assassin mid-strike. In one motion, he disarmed and paralyzed the attacker. You knew? Marcus asked. The commander nodded. They want the old ways back. They fear what you're changing. Marcus looked down at the fallen assassin and said quietly, then we must change faster. But far away, something ancient stirred. A fleet that had once ruled before the council was ever formed, watched everything unfold and decided it was time to return. Their message was short. The human must fall or the galaxy will. And they began to move toward Earth, toward Marcus, toward war. Marcus Vale never wanted to be a teacher. He had lived too long in silence, fought too many wars, buried too many faces. But now, in the heart of an empire that once tried to kill him, he stood before soldiers, officers, and nobles, not as an enemy, but as a mentor. They called him Instructor Vale, but no title could explain what he truly was. He wasn't just teaching them how to fight, he was teaching them how to see the galaxy differently. Power means nothing without control, he said. To conquer is easy. To protect takes more strength. His students were the elite, warriors trained from birth, but even they struggled to match his speed, his timing, his calm. The royal commander trained by his side, once enemies, now allies. They sparred each morning before the suns rose, and often no words were spoken, but action builds trust. And in silence, something strong began to grow. Whispers of change spread across the empire. Alien generals watched their most brutal fighters become disciplined. Civilians began talking about peace instead of conquest, and nobles feared it. Some said Marcus was a weapon disguised as a prophet. Others said he was Earth's secret attempt to control the empire from within, but no one could deny what they saw. Fewer deaths, fewer riots, more balance. One Zeltrak's mother cried in the market. My son used to fight every day, she said. Now he trains in silence. Marcus didn't smile when he heard that. He only nodded. That was enough. But the peace was fragile, and old powers never die quietly. One evening, as Marcus walked through the gardens of the imperial palace, a child ran up to him. Zeltrak's blood, maybe 6 years old. She handed him a drawing, stick figures of him and the royal commander training under 2 sons. Marcus knelt and looked into her eyes. Why did you draw this? Because you made the big ones stop yelling, she always whispered, and now they play. That night, Marcus sat by the reflecting pool, holding the drawing in his hands. He didn't cry, but the silence around him felt heavier than usual. Elsewhere, a secret meeting took place. The old council alliance, broken by jealousy and fear, had reformed in the dark. But they were not alone this time. A ship, ancient, black as space itself, hovered above them. A voice spoke from its shadows. Humanity is the anomaly, it said. Left unchecked, it will rewrite your empires. Let us end him for you. The council hesitated, but their fear answered for them. Do it, they said. Make it look like an accident. The next day, the emperor summoned Marcus to the war chamber, not for strategy, but for a question. Would you die to protect Earth? The emperor asked. Marcus answered without pause. I already did. The emperor nodded slowly. Then understand this, he said. The galaxy is moving again, and it moves toward you. Moments later, an alert rang through the palace. An unidentified fleet had entered Zeltrak space. No communication, no insignia, only black ships, silent and sharp like knives. Marcus's heart sank. He recognized the pattern. He had seen those ships once before, during the darkest part of the last human war, back when his squad had been wiped out, when he alone survived. That night, he stood before his students one last time. He did not give them drills. He gave them a warning. Tomorrow, your training ends, not because you are perfect, but because you must now choose what to fight for. Not orders, not pride, but life. He looked at each one, the hardened warrior, the young fighter, the broken noble, and he said the words that would be remembered forever. The greatest enemy is not the one outside the gate. It's the one inside us. Fear. Then he walked away to the edge of the sky where the black's hips waited like death itself. The royal commander followed him. You knew they would come, he said. Marcus nodded. I didn't stop the duel to prove I was strong. I stopped it because I knew this. The sky above Zeltrak's prime burned red, not from fire but from engines. The ancient fleet had arrived. Black ships, sharp as bone, moved in silence through orbit. They bore no flags, no names, only one message. Eradicate the human or be erased. Marcus Vale stood on the cliff edge, his black uniform fluttering in the storm wind. Beside him, the royal commander stood armed. Around them, Zeltrak's soldiers, once proud warriors, now followers of a new path, his path. The emperor himself stepped forward. No council fleet has dared come this close in decades, he said quietly. But they're not afraid of me anymore. They're afraid of the idea I carry, Marcus replied. Not power, but change. A message beamed down from the enemy flagship. It was a single voice, old and mechanical. We gave the galaxy peace through control. Then humans rose. With your defiance, Marcus Vale, you must die. Marcus didn't blink. He stepped forward to the edge of the platform and sent only one word in return. Accepted. The battlefield was chosen, not space, not fleet warfare, but something older, a neutral moon called Corin's Eye, an empty place of cracked earth and echoes. Marcus would face their chosen champion in single combat, just like before, just like the duel that started it all. But this time, the whole galaxy watched, not just for sport, but for survival. As Marcus prepared in silence, Sarah's voice came through the comms. Are you sure you want to do this? You've already changed the empire. You don't have to fight again. Yes, Marcus said calmly, I do. They think we're alone. I need to show them we're not. At dawn, he landed on Corin's Eye, alone, no backup, no fleet. The enemy champion arrived in a golden dropship, not a soldier, but a monster of steel and mind, half alien, half machine, a relic from a forgotten war, programmed to kill without qui. Stian, the duel judge, a council relic himself, stood in the distance, his voice echoed across the barren land. Duel begins in 3, 2, 1. Engage. The machine charged, faster than thought, its blade burning with plasma, its arms shifting into weapons with every step. But Marcus didn't move, not until the last possible second. Then he sidestepped, ducked, spun, one movement, one breath. The machine missed, twice, then again. Analyzing pattern, it said, but there was no pattern, only instinct. Marcus moved like smoke, every strike dodged, every motion fluid. He wasn't faster, he was calmer. Then he struck, not with a sword, but with a single palm, straight to the machine's core. A burst of light exploded. The champion fell to its knees, systems failing, silence followed. Marcus stood above it, breathing slowly. "I could destroy you," he whispered. "But that's not what humans do." He turned and walked away, leaving the machine broken, but alive. The council fleet hovered in silence. Their champion was defeated. Their plan had failed. They sent another message. This proves nothing. But Earth had already responded. Dozens of ships dropped from warp, not for war, but for unity. Humans, Zeltraxians, other alien races, all under one banner, not to destroy, but to defend what Marcus had built. The council stood down, not because they were weak, but because they knew the galaxy had already chosen, and they chose the man who had said, "I accept," not to fight, but to bring peace. Back on Zeltrax Prime, Marcus returned to the Imperial Hall, the same place where he was once challenged to die, now filled with cheers, respect, and quiet nods. The royal commander greeted him with a smile. "I used to think victory meant ending your enemy. Now I know it means standing beside one." Marcus smiled back. "You learned faster than most." Weeks later, a stat. He was raised, not of Marcus holding a weapon, but of him standing still, hands open, peaceful. At the base were the words, "He accepted not the fight, but the burden." And children would gather there,